$5 is worth about $1 these days.
And welcome to episode number 4 of Unrelenting. Friday, November 19th, 2021. We're striving for perfection. I am Darren O'Neill. He is Gene-Nev Tuliev. And are you ready for a little bit of fun? There's still no jury back on the Rittenhouse case. When is this going to happen, Gene?
I think it'll be a while.
You think it's going to be a long time? I mean, the 4 days already.
I tend to agree with the rumor mill out there, which is that there's either 1 or 2 people on the jury that are not ready to acquit, and they are stalling the rest of the jury. And this is based on the jury requests for information that have been coming in.
You think any of this is jury intimidation?
No.
Interesting.
No, I think the vast majority of the people are ready to acquit. There's either 1 or 2 people that are not and are going to hold up the jury and end up with a locked jury and a mistrial.
Well, there is thoughts that the jury wants that anyway, so they can't be targeted.
Exactly. But if they all wanted it, this would have already come back as like,
True.
Yeah, we can't agree, and you guys have to mistrial.
But it's interesting. It could be one person on either side. That's kind of like the 12
Absolutely.
Angry Men, the movie, the book.
Absolutely. I've been on a federal jury like that. That's very much a possibility. There could be somebody that is absolutely set in their beliefs on the verdict that can't be reasoned out of that. They're effectively have made up their mind to the point where there's nothing that will change their mind, which will result in a hung jury.
That really wouldn't be surprising in today's culture. It's actually kind of hard to believe that any jury can come down and get 12 people to agree on anything now.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the time people want to just go home and back to their lives. And so they're willing to not care that much. And whoever is pushing hard is going to end up getting the rest of the jury to go along with them.
True. It's depending on whether you really are against throwing somebody to the wolves or taking this stuff seriously. I mean, it's been a long process already for this jury. But it's interesting when, and I don't know how much you read into the story that came out yesterday, I believe it was, that MSNBC had somebody following the bus that.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Of course they did.
To the point to the judge is like, well, we're not going to allow MSNBC in the building anymore. That's great. Oh,
it's beyond that point. It's the point of actually filing charges against them.
Rightfully so. And this is also an issue. And we talked about this on the Derek Chauvin case, the George Floyd case, that jurors up until this point where, technology and social media and everything keeps improving and becoming more ubiquitous in our lives. It used to be you could be on a jury and actually be anonymous. That is pretty much gone at this point.
Well, that's not really true, though, because the jury is present in the courthouse and pretty much anybody can go and sit and watch a trial.
Right. Which means the jury isn't really anonymous. Because
they're not anonymous. The thing you're not allowed to do is historically bring any kind of cameras into the courthouse.
Right.
And so you could have, a memory of a juror. You could draw a picture of a juror, but you couldn't take a photo of a juror.
Now, with all of this stuff, including every cell phone having a super high-res camera, these Google glasses, Facebook glasses, this makes it a lot easier for this kind of stuff to get out if people want it out. And a lot of people do when it comes down to any trial, for the intimidation of the juror. It's not hard to believe that their identities can be leaked. And of course, if that happens, it becomes very easy to influence them.
I guess for some people it does. It's always going to be a trade between doing what's right and doing what's convenient.
And most people are probably going to go convenient.
Yeah, most people.
Especially when you think you might be targeted by a mob. And I don't know if that's what's going on here. But it was certainly a factor in the George Floyd case where people just thinking,
ooh, Burger King has a special on right now.
what are you doing?
I just got a pop-up ad for Burger King.
Well, they know you. This is very targeted advertising.
I need to get some lunch soon. Yeah.
It is very.
Anyway, what were we saying?
People love that from the last episode. Gene orders lunch. Like, this should be a part of every show. What will Gene order
Gene
for
does
lunch?
eat lunch at every show, so might as well be.
That explains a lot of the mouth sounds and the lack of professionalism.
But the mouths.
But I digress. That.
Oh, yes. You don't eat, do you? I forget.
Well, not during the shows. I mean, should I? I mean, I've had a
You're
coffee
recording
here.
shit 24/7. I'm sure you don't eat while you're recording. Yes.
Well, I mean, sometimes, but that's not during the podcast.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting to watch this where I think people, and are you surprised they didn't sequester this jury? Because when these jurors go home,
it's insane. Of course they should have sequestered the jury.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy. I think Wisconsin is bending over backwards, doing everything they possibly can to fuck this up.
it seems that way. Because when these
Did you
jurors,
see the photo of the judge and the prosecutor hanging out on the boat drinking beers?
no,
Yeah, that's out there.
you know, and I know these people work together. This isn't something that is
Oh, yeah.
you know, especially with the prosecutors, they run across the same judge all the time.
Yeah,
But-
it's a small little podunk town.
Yeah. When you see the news, though, when you're the juror and you leave to go home for the night and you see whether you could probably see this depending if they're sneaking them out a back way or whatever they're doing. When you see a
On the
massive
bus, apparently.
Yeah, on a bus that MSNBC followed. But when you see a crowd of people that are gathering, you know, they'll say to protest. This is a very weird thing to me. And this is something that I don't remember happening more than like 10 years ago or so. Maybe it was, and it just wasn't reported on. The fact that these big cases, there's a crowd gathering outside ready to riot. I mean, they'll say, oh, they're just protesting. It's like, but nothing's come back yet. I mean, I remember there were some cases where the verdict came back. That was a surprise to everybody. And then everybody got together and protested or rioted or whatever. But this, you know, staging area outside the courthouse just seems like a really bad idea, especially then when the jurors are leaving and coming on a daily basis, seeing this. This, like you said, it's a little town. This is their town. And they know what's going to happen if they bring back a certain result. How can't that have an effect?
Right, exactly. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it shows the lack of law abidedness. I don't know what the right word is.
Respect, maybe, for the law?
Well, it's not even the respect for the law. It's just that certainly in the 40s, 50s, 60s, part of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s, maybe through about 2005, there was a certain decorum that was followed when it comes to official decisions that come down from courts, and that you accept the decision of the court even if you disagree with it, because you understand that there may be decisions in the future that you agree with that somebody else disagrees with. And so you have this sort of mutual understanding that when you leave it up to the court, you're saying, I'll be okay with what the court does.
Right. You'll let the system do what it needs to do.
In the absence of allowing the court to make that determination, what you have is lawlessness.
Yeah,
you have
the Wild
people
West.
taking the law into their own hands.
Vigilantism.
And might makes right. The guy with the biggest gun and the biggest posse gets to be right all the time. And law is there to prevent that from happening, to allow impartiality, to at least more than it would be otherwise, to rule the day. And so everybody just sort of makes a covenant to agree to say that we will settle our matters in court and not out of court.
Which is why
now,
the
there's
system was set
nothing
up this way.
wrong with having people, gather in crowds to chant and let their wishes known. Nothing wrong with that. There is something wrong once it becomes violent, because that is a reversion back to the might makes right.
Correct.
We will threaten and intimidate people and get our way. That's not lawless. That's lawlessness. That's not letting the law decide and leave it up to the impartiality of the courts. So if people threatening physical harm is the new method of deciding who's innocent and guilty,
right?
We need another 100,000 Kyle Rittenhouses out there. I'm just going to call him Carl from now on.
Carl, right? Carl Rittenhouse.
Carl Rittenhouse. So I think that's the net effect is, and that this is a lose-lose for the court system, right? If he is found not guilty, then there will be a bunch of people who think they now have the right to destroy private property, to intimidate people, and potentially to harm others physically because they're unhappy. These people need to get their asses kicked. These people need to see the consequences of being lawless.
Well, and that's one of the big problems of bringing race into everything, because in this case, it's going to be, it's a white guy. He got away with it.
Yeah, and the white guy who killed white guys that were attacking a white guy got away with it. Oh, my God. There's so much race involved in it.
Well, it's brought into everything.
So consequently, if he's guilty, I predict and fully hope that there will be 100,000 more Kyle Rittenhouses out there, because it's going to become apparent that the only way to actually have a say is to take the law into your own hands.
Right, to gather and intimidate.
And more people will start agreeing with the notion that we need to defund the police because the police are useless. If we're going to take the law into our own hands, if we're going to be the only ones responsible for our own communities, we don't need to be paying for enforcers of a broken legal system. Get rid of the police.
Because the police are really irrelevant when you have prosecutors that won't prosecute crime.
Well, beyond that, most of the police, and this is where I agree more with the anarchists, I think most police, and certainly in my experience, and I've dealt with a lot of different levels of police, from federal to local, they really, I've literally said this since high school. The difference between a criminal and a cop is simply the side of the bed they woke up on. It's the same exact mentality. It's the same attitude. It's the same people that could end up in both, because what they're looking for is really similar. People that apply to police academies, people that think that what they want to do for the rest of their lives is to catch others breaking the law, are very, very similar to people who don't want to bother listening to the law, who think they can know better and get away with it because they're a little bit smarter and they can cut the corners and everything will be fine. Both of these personality types that go into the criminal profession and the law enforcement profession are not particularly bright people. And I'm sure there's somebody who thinks I'm insulting him now, but the reality is, if you look statistically at the people in that profession, if you interact with them, if you watch videos, if you go to court, if you do any of these things, and you observe cops and you observe criminals, you are bound to see a distinct similarity in the personality types. I'm not saying cops are criminals, so don't inflate what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the kid that you met in 7th grade that had an asshole personality that was constantly getting into trouble with the teachers is just as likely to end up being a cop as they are to having a criminal record.
A lot of it comes down to the intentions of what you want to do. I mean, there's no question about that. And of course, the best and the brightest going into law enforcement's not going to make you the money, which is where
it's not about the money. It's about control. It's about having something that allows you to be in control of what other people do. That's the attraction factor to being in law enforcement.
Well, right. But if you have the ability to go into something where you'll make $1 million a year, as opposed to making your, $50,000 a year being a cop, then you're going to go make the $1 million. Usually, I would think.
Maybe it's not always about the money. And I've met way more people who are who have left the financial sector where they were making hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars
to become cops
per year. No, to go do stupid shit.
Right.
To go do things that don't really make much money because it's not necessarily about the money. In fact, think back, and I'm saying this to everybody. And then, by the way, right after this conversation, we're going to ask people that are listening to the stream to help us do a test. So hopefully we'll get at least a few of the folks willing to participate in this. It's not always about the money. And if you think back to your high school, I think the number of your friends or just people you knew that were kids pre-college who would articulate that their goal in life is to find a job that allows them to make $1 million is probably like 3%, 5%. It's the vast minority. The majority of high school kids are looking forward to getting a job in a field that they enjoy spending time in, not a field that they're going to make the most money in. I know certainly back when I was in high school and looking at different opportunities and what I wanted to be, and it was, I mean, money, I certainly wanted to make money, but that was never the primary consideration for me. And I don't think it was for most of my friends.
But to be fair, did you even have electricity when you were in high school?
Yes, we had electricity. Electricity's been around since the 1800s. Thank you.
I still wasn't sure. I didn't know where that put your high school year, but I think it was the opposite for me. I think most people were looking to either go into something that made them money, or they were going into a family business, and not necessarily a family-owned business. If their dad, was a cop, then maybe they wanted to be a cop. That kind of a thing. Follow in what.
Well, what do you mean by make money, though? You literally went to high school kids that were saying, I don't care what I do. I just want to do something that makes a shit ton of money.
Well, to go into the things most lucrative. I mean, there was always, we could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. It was that I think money was more of a.
So half your class ended up in
not
finance?
That they actually, no, because they weren't smart enough to be. But, originally that was the goal. I don't think most people go into high school going, gee, maybe I can just skate by and then flip burgers at McDonald's for the next 20 years. I mean, I think the dream was
that's totally not what I'm saying, though.
And make a ton of money.
Unless your dream is to flip burgers, it's not what you'd be interested in. But most people I know, like whether it was science, whether it was sports, whatever it was that they were interested in doing was the thing that they wanted to get a job in. It wasn't doing something that they disliked, like working at McDonald's.
But really, in high school, what are any guys interested in doing except girls? And I mean, none of us figured out a way to make money at that.
I don't know. I mean, I had a pretty good cornered the market on candy sales in high school.
I was going to say hashtag Gene the Gigolo. I don't know what we're.
No. You know how there's in high school, there's always like these, I don't know, several times a year, like sell candy to get uniforms for the football team kind of bullshit things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I figured that out early on, and I realized if I sell candy year round, I could make a lot more money than the football team.
Were you just going to the store and buying in bulk?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Yeah, I was buying candy in bulk and selling it for like 300% markup during the school day.
My buddy Frank was like that in high school. He was the entrepreneur who found the company that sold crappy gold by the inch chains and that kind of stuff, where they would sell you the, 1,000 feet of gold chain at.
Yeah. What's your buddy's name?
Frank.
Frank what?
Pavlika.
Oh, different guy.
Yeah. What did you do?
I knew a guy that started a company doing that and grew it. So he started when he was 17 doing chain by the inch.
Right.
I believe it was in Florida. And by the time he was 20, he had 18 kiosks in different shopping malls that he owned. And he was a millionaire by the time he was 21.
I mean, I know he had students selling the stuff for him. He had teachers selling this stuff for him. Then he wrote a book on how to be the jerk women love and made it onto like Sally Jesse Raphael, Montel Williams, all that. So he had a couple scams going on that really paid off back in high school and college.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
With some good stuff.
So that is an example of a guy that is very much focused on money. How many of those were in your high school class? So out of the few hundred kids in your class, how many were that guy?
None quite to that extent, I'll give you.
Okay, that's my point. My point is that most people, when they're in high school, are not primarily driven by money. They're driven by career. They don't want to, nobody wants to be like, working at McDonald's or be poor or whatever, but most people are driven by their interests when picking a career.
That would make sense. But I think in high school, you really don't know. In college, I think that starts taking much better shape. And
in college is where you're mostly focusing on the girls.
Well, see, I did it wrong. I mean,
maybe you were just a early bloomer.
Probably.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I mean, I was still focused on grades in high school. A lot more so than girls.
So you were doing it
in college. Wrong. It was definitely the other way around. It was like classes. What are those? We can skip those.
Well, I mean, I skipped a lot of classes in college too, but it wasn't, chasing girls. I started going out with my wife senior year in high school. So this is one of those. So
stories. That's where you are an early bloomer. Your experience ended in high school.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all been over since then. Downhill.
That's usually how it works. Yeah.
It's the key to happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how they break horses when they catch them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then those horses that never buck after that, they don't lose half their stuff multiple times throughout their lives.
That's true. But yeah, I think the losing the stuff is worth the freedom, but that's just me.
Play the percentages, Gene. I get it. I get it. But what was this thing you wanted to try?
Oh, yeah. So we are currently not only on Live Agenda Stream, which, we're happy to take whatever time slot that they have available for us, which I guess is right now. But we're also testing the local stream. So our own stream, which includes video. Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
High tech.
And we have tested video. I've seen Gene. He's real.
Yeah. Well, the video that is on there is it's not super exciting, but it is moving. So you can see it's not just a still image. So what we would like to have people do, and it's completely free and open, obviously, to everybody, not just the members, but for anybody that can, please go to our local site, which is what?
Unrelenting.locals.com, I believe.
Very good. You remembered.
Yes. It's not that hard. It's the name of the show.
Yes. And make sure people know how to spell unrelenting. But if you go to that site, you should be able to see somewhere, as probably the first thing, a live now video stream. And this stream is going to go on, I think, for another 15 minutes or so. No, another 5 minutes.
Are they limited?
5 minutes. They are limited. So there's only 5 minutes left, guys. So help us do the test.
This is like a really bad. Now you must act now.
Well, no, it's a good test to see whether anybody's actually listening on the No Agenda stream. Because if no one's listening on the No Agenda stream, they just left it running, then we'll know. But if anybody can jump in there now, 4 minutes left. Go to locals. All we want you to do is A, see if you can see a moving image, and B, see if the audio on there sounds fine. That's it. That's the totality of the test we need done. The reason we're doing this, obviously, is because we're going to be streaming all our shows on Locals moving forward, and we will be including video with our bright and cheery faces in the not too distant future on there, along with actually having a web browser open to whatever story we're talking about or things like that. Maybe we'll have some videos we're going to play in the future as part of the conversation. So we are slowly moving to video as a platform. It will be on Locals, and it may be also streamed on YouTube.
And No Agenda, if they can get
some people have pushed back on I don't want to watch YouTube, or you can't hear audio on YouTube if you have it closed. Well, tough shit. So here's the thing. We're going to do this. Now, whether you consume it or not is totally up to you.
So it looks like, as TuneIn is saying, you have to be a member even to see that, even though it's open to everybody. So you do not have to
be a member. You have to have a Locals account. But you don't have to be a member of our website.
You have to be a member of Locals, though. So yeah, that's... I know all of these things are hurdles for some people.
Well,
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's which again, it's funny because a lot of times it's going to be the same people that poo-poo on YouTube that also don't want to sign up to locals. It's like, yes, I want my video to be brought to me and I don't have to sign up for anything, and I hate YouTube and Google, and I'm not going to look at their website.
They let you poo-poo on YouTube? I thought that was like an OnlyFans thing.
I don't think they even let you do that to OnlyFans.
But yes, I mean,
there are plenty of people poo-pooing YouTube right now. That's for sure.
The main thing is we want to go video because after talking to Carl of Who Are These Podcasts, after going back and forth a little with Bandrew of the Bandrew Says podcast and Podcastage on YouTube, when you offer both an audio podcast and similar content on YouTube or the whole thing on YouTube, YouTube outweighs everything. It gets more interaction. It gets more views, listens, whatever. So we just don't want to leave that on the table. We're not leaving the people behind who just want audio only, but it's a lot better.
Yeah, we're not going to start doing video without audio.
Right. Oh, nobody would pay for that. Nobody wants to see that.
What about deaf people?
Well, then
I can't believe you just insulted them like that.
You have the little subtitles going on.
Yeah, only subtitles, no audio.
Well, that might be better. That might be better.
Then they don't have to listen to us. Exactly.
But
there's only 1 minute left. If you haven't, jump in and let us know if this works.
Yeah, they said if they had more than 4 minits. I mean, we'll have to try this again.
If they had more than 4 minutes, oh, come on.
To get in,
4 minutes is plenty of time.
Now, is there another level? When does local say we can do 2-hour streams?
Yeah. No, as soon as, here's how locals works, guys. Not that anyone asked or anyone gives a shit, but I'm going to explain it anyway. Locals is a platform that only makes money when people on it make money. So we don't pay anything for locals. Locals just takes a percentage of the people that want to subscribe to us as a paid member monthly.
So it's not like we could go, oh, we'll pay you $20 a month and they'll unlock all the magical features.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we don't even have the option of upgrading locals until locals sees that I think it's 20 people. When there are 20 people that are paying to subscribe to us, then locals of their own accord will move us to the next level, which has longer videos and all kinds of other crap. So it's effectively a free platform for creators, but its usability depends on how many people are actually subscribing to you. This is really no different than YouTube, by the way, except the numbers are a little different. On YouTube, anybody can put up a video and no one's going to see it because YouTube does not promote videos of anybody who doesn't have an audience. Right now on YouTube, you need a minimum of 1,000 people that are subscribed to you. 1,000, guys. That's way more than how many are in this stream. And that's, it's less than how many subscribe to the podcast, but it's still a fairly large number. When you have 1,000 people subscribe, you unlock the lowest level of YouTube creator stuff. And then there you get some tools where you can actually start to monetize your videos. Like you can't even make a dime until you have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
NetNed suggests that we could do interpretive dance with no audio.
Ned, I'm glad that you're in the $10,000 a month club because that's about the price that would take to do interpretive dance.
See, it's good to know you have a price.
We'll look for the check and let you know when the next dance show is.
And DigiGuru says, to your point, he had a cousin who worked at a local gunsmith shop, and he's from the Chirac area here, so I'm assuming maybe the cousin was. Both the police and the mob characters were all customers, and they would all just show up to pick up their guns and chat with each other. So I can imagine that would have been a good reality TV show.
Oh, well, yeah, I think it was called The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the mob is really a lot closer to the police than anything else. They both operate unions. They both have they both get free shit from businesses that they're protecting.
Breaking news.
I remember what? Go ahead.
Breaking news. Looks like we may have within the hour the Rittenhouse verdict. according to...
That's not really breaking news if there's no verdict yet.
They're saying that it's in and releasing within an hour, according to I Have No Name.
So the jury's back? The jury's fully... Wow, that was a quick conviction.
4 days. So
yeah,
we'll see if that's true or not.
Yeah.
It may be.
Well, it could be a hung jury news as well.
True.
Now, generally for hung juries, the judge's first order is to send them back in and say, you're not leaving here so quick, spend another couple of days deliberating. And then if they come back again, they may either say, okay, hung jury, or they'll give them at least one full day to deliberate.
Well, it is Friday, so I mean, everybody wanted to be out for the weekend.
That's sad.
I'm telling you, this is how juries, I mean, come on.
That's sad.
I don't trust
the flip
anybody.
side is, I think that if the jury comes back with a guilty verdict, then the judge will probably grant the mistrial, and it'll just go to the other court. Because there's been now, I believe, three motions for a mistrial from the defense for three different things that have happened. The alteration of the video, so essentially utilizing evidence that was tampered with.
And I've got that as a story for today because I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting thing, being that it seems that the video, if you haven't seen the story, the video given to the defense team, which when you're in a case like this, legally, the evidence that the prosecution has, they have to give to the defense. In this case, rather than giving them the full resolution video that was taken by a drone, I believe it is, they downsampled that. Now, I haven't seen any proof or anybody talking about whether this was simply downsampled in resolution, because we know some files can be huge, and downsampling it, of course, you could lose a little bit of the clarity. The one thing I haven't seen mentioned anywhere, and if you have, let me know, was this cropped at all?
Yeah, it was cropped.
Okay,
I know that for a fact.
If it was cropped, this was like the case of the 12-year-old kid in Chicago a few months back that had a gun in his hand, running from a cop in an alley, then turned around quick, and the cop shot him, where the news cropped out the video where he dropped the gun like a split second beforehand. There's a lot that could be dropped in a little crop. I didn't mean for that to rhyme.
I mean, I don't know that makes a huge difference. I mean, if somebody drops a gun, that doesn't mean you don't shoot them. But there's the idea, and by the way, the cropping here allegedly was because they just wanted to cut out the Fox News logo. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is literally what they said. Yeah.
Wow. They didn't want to give Fox.
The only reason it was cropped was to cut out the Fox News logo.
Wow. That is, that's unbelievable, really.
But hold on. If their captured drone video had a Fox News logo.
Right. Was it a Fox drone? I don't think it was.
A Fox drone? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing that makes little sense to me.
Or it was Fox was the one that got the video, and the only way they had the video was from Fox.
Exactly. So if they didn't get the video from the FBI, they got it from Fox. Well, then the FBI video still exists somewhere. Let's get that.
Well, that's also messed up evidence, because even if the person who had the drone footage gave it directly to Fox,
yeah,
you don't know if Fox tampered with it before they put it on the air.
Oh, I guarantee you they did.
So
absolutely,
using that as evidence is a really bad idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that demonstrates how the prosecution has gone for this case with the same attitude as the Democrats in the last election. Win at any cost.
Whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes. Exactly. Because their attitude is, we are on the right side, so anything we do is the right thing to do. That has been the justification of communists and socialists pretty much ever since the Russian Revolution, is that the ends are justify the means, and that the winners get to write history. And so if we do anything that is required in order to win, we get to write history, and we will always be on the right side of history. It's not illogical, but it's is making some assumptions that are very anti-freedom, anti-America, anti-liberty. Man, it's essentially saying might makes right. That is
right.
What the argument boils down to, is might makes right.
And again, just like before, you're bypassing the system.
Yes.
That's the idea. In this case, cropping out video just to pull out the Fox logo. It's like, you could have just put a black area over just that logo without losing the rest of the pixels.
Well, you're not supposed to put anything on it. I mean, if you're introducing evidence, it should be as is, unaltered. You don't introduce evidence of a security camera showing somebody robbing a place and cropping out the fact that their truck that they're loading things into is the same as the name of the company because they're a legitimate mover.
Right.
Right. I mean, that is any kind of cropping of the video is altering the story, and that evidence should not be submitted. So
yeah, no question. They screwed with the evidence,
and we'll see whether this happens or not. But it would make sense that if the jury comes back as guilty, that the judge grants the defense filings, the petitions, and then the trial just gets redone again.
So what you're saying is the rioting is going to happen whether this comes back with a guilty or innocent charge.
Oh, I think the rioting is guaranteed to happen no matter what. If it comes back, if it comes back as guilty, then obviously there'll be another trial. If this comes back as not guilty, then there won't be another trial, but there'll be massive rioting. I don't know if you saw, Babylon Bee had a thing where they had a story headline saying that court asks Kyle Rittenhouse if he could come back with a gun to ensure that the courthouse isn't burned down after the verdict is read.
That might not be a bad idea. You said we need a lot more Rittenhouse type characters.
We do. We need a lot more Rittenhouse characters. Absolutely. I think the jelly men of America need to be put back into their place by those people that actually have a backbone.
Well, and the reason for this is because the people in charge of these cities in these cases here, like Kenosha, refuse to protect their city. They decided we're going to let the rioters just go. It happened here in Chicago,
same thing
too.
In Minneapolis. Yeah. Same thing in Austin.
Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago, Austin's not a whole lot of difference at this point, except that we have more high-tech industry, but that's about it.
And warmer weather.
Okay, well, the weather's a little bit different, too. That's true.
I was going to say less snow, but we know you guys even got that last year.
We did get snow last year. It wasn't much, but it lasted a week, which normally, we have snow almost every year. And I always run outside to take a photo before it melts, because it usually melts within 4 hours. Because the ground is still warm. So snow's not going to stay on the ground. What was different it was this year, actually. This winter was that the temperature remained at freezing temps, 15, 16 degrees, right around there.
Right, because the wind hit those windmills.
An entire week. Yeah, exactly. So that was a whole week so whatever snow we did have actually lasted long enough. And by the way, it was not insignificant. It's usually about an inch. This last time we had, I think, 3 inches, which may seem like nothing again in northern climates, but
which it is nothing here.
Austin has no snowplows,
right?
No trucks that can dump sand on the ground, and so there were patches of roads that were icy for a whole week that were never cleared. The only way that most roads got cleared is through the wheels of cars driving over that snow. That's it. So it was definitely chaos here for a while. I think the first 2 days, literally nobody drove anywhere. And then by the third day, people started running out of emergency food packets, which is what I'm calling condiments that people get at home when they order food.
Honey, give me a thing of ketchup.
Yeah, that's about it. All the ketchup was gone. And so people started trying to venture out and driving over that snow and getting it melted. But
Well, yeah, you don't have here in Chicago. We used to drive by on the way to going to the White Sox games.
Chicago drive-by.
Yeah, there's always a drive-by. But as you went over one bridge, off to the side was one of the areas where all the snowplows sit. So even, in the off season, even when it's warm out, the stack that they had sitting there of the salt for the roads was probably like 2 or 3 stories high. They got a lot of salt for
probably
Chicago.
mob controlled.
I'm sure. But you don't have that in Austin. You needed a little bit of salt for the roadways.
Oh, God, no. They don't use salt. They don't even use sand here. I mean, there's literally nothing.
They're just like, go at it.
Pretty much. And here, there's not too many hills. Not too bad. But, like, if you start going in the hill country where Adam lives, if it snows, dude, if you go down a hill, you're not coming back up.
You just got to stay home.
I think so. Yeah, there's just await deliveries and whatnot.
I believe it. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And I think pizza, by the way, pizza delivery was running at about 4.5 hours.
Oh, those poor guys. Oh,
yeah, well, they were getting good tips, though.
Were they? I mean, hopefully nobody was that asshole.
I would hope so. Yeah.
You go walking up the driveway with the ice, get to the front door, and it's like, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not usually like a huge tipper, but pizza I always tip well because I used to work for both Domino's and Papa John's.
Wow, delivery guy?
Yeah, for both of them.
Not a pizza maker?
No, I did that too. I did. I'm really good with making pizza too. You do what you love, right? So in my case, it was making pizza.
Pizza is good.
Making pizza, baking pizza, eating pizza. You name it.
If you could do it with pizza, Gene's in on it.
That's right. So it was good times. So I do tip the delivery guys pretty well.
Well, that's good. You should tip your waitresses and waiters and delivery guys.
Maybe this is a good segue to our test that I ran last time on not doing a tip.
Oh, that's right. You ordered your lunch without putting the tip in early.
Yeah. Lunch with no tip on Uber. Hour 15 minutes.
Which is usually what, like 25, you said?
No, it's never that fast. It's usually about 45.
So an extra half hour, which is about what that one driver said. It sits there until they up it, which is like a half hour in.
Yep.
That's interesting.
No, I think it's totally the case. And you can, so on Uber, you get notified when your order is kind of live and put in there. And then you get notified when the order is made. And then you get notified when the driver picks up the order, and you get notified when the driver just dropped it at your door.
Do they notify you when the driver spits in your order, or is that extra charge?
Well, I don't think anyone really. I mean, what's the point, right? But there certainly has been a change in packaging of the delivered food over the last 2 years, because it used to just come in the standard, bag, box, whatever it shipped.
Right, as if you had picked it up yourself.
As if you picked it up yourself. And then what Uber clearly found out is that a lot of customers said, hey, my French fries are missing. Hey, my drink is missing. Hey, I ordered 3 burgers. I only got 2. And Uber, of course, had to cover all this stuff, right? Because they're the ones ultimately delivering to the customer.
Yeah.
And so now a lot of these deliveries are somewhat sealed. I mean, they're tamperable, but they're either stapled, like if it's a bag, it could be stapled shut. If it's a box, or maybe if it's a bag as well, it could have just tape sealing it, so you could see if somebody tore the tape off.
Which all of the boxes of the Jimmy John's.
Some fancy places actually have little stickers with the company logo that says "sealed for your protection."
That's what Jimmy John's had. All the sandwiches that were sent to my brother-in-law's wake had that seal on the box.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It makes sense because, I'm not a germaphobe, but that kind of creeps me out thinking somebody had their hands in your food.
Well, hopefully you're not eating any fast food at all then.
Rarely. Well, I mean, I know after they make it, they actually have to touch it.
Well, they're touching it while they're making it too.
I would hope so.
Picking their nose, scratching their ass while they're making your food.
Yeah, but they're doing it while wearing those really hygienic plastic gloves.
You think they are.
But what do the gloves do? I never understood. A lot of people were wearing gloves when COVID started. If you wear
gloves and you scratch your ass, and then you make food, does it really matter if you were wearing gloves?
No. So what good do the gloves do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you're seeing them put the gloves on, when they start your sandwich at
Yeah,
Subway.
if it's a fresh, brand new pair of gloves for every customer.
But that's not the case.
But that's definitely not the case.
That is not the case.
And I think that you have to get past a certain level of germaphobe. Like, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. Like, I will never pick up anything that drops to the floor. I don't believe in the 5-second rule or whatever people call it. If it's not in my hands, on my fork, or in my mouth, I'm not going to eat it.
I agree.
So, well, you're a rare exception, because most people that I know, most of my friends, will absolutely have this made up 5-second rule. It's like, yeah, it was on the floor for just a few seconds. Not a big deal.
No, I don't like it.
You're insane.
Yeah.
You're insane.
Even with something like, a vitamin, that's a hard case, just vitamin.
Literally had that happen today. I actually dropped a prescription pill that's $1 a pill, and I still threw it out.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
That's exactly what you do, because it hit the floor. You don't know what's on the floor.
I know what's on the floor. I'm walking around on the floor. That's what's on the floor.
Yeah.
And ants are walking around on the floor. I don't know. Do you have ants in Chicago?
We do. I mean, not in the house regularly.
We have fucking ants here in Texas. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you got nasty ants. That
we
Fletcher
have
down
ants
there had them.
that will eat you alive.
Yes,
and then burp you up and eat you again. There's a variety of ants here, including fire ants. I remember the first time my parents encountered fire ants, because we were at I don't know if it was the zoo or just somewhere in a park, and I think it was in Fort Worth. And sat down on the bench to rest. And then I felt something, and I looked down and I saw the fire ants, and I was like, we got to get out of here. And I jumped straight up into the air like,
Well, yeah, because it's not just one fire ant.
And walked 10 feet away. And my parents are still sitting there looking at me like I'm crazy.
Gene, what are you doing?
You guys have fire ants crawling up your legs. You don't want to be. I was like, what's the big deal? You just,
You flick them off.
It's a big deal. And finally convinced my parents to start leaving. And then the ants started biting them, because now they were stepping on the ants. And they realized that fire ants you don't fuck with. It's basically a bee sting is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Except that they don't lose their stinger the way that bees do.
They can just keep on
biting you over and over and over. Yeah. And they're injecting formic acid into you. It's not pleasant. It feels like a hot tiny little needle that has been heated up till it's red hot and then poking in your skin.
Yeah.
So those things are nasty. There's also the normal ants that I think most places have that don't have that kind of bite, but still are annoying. And then we have these little tiny ants that are not like baby ants, but they're a species of ants that is about half the size of normal ants. I've had all three of them in my house, not at the same time, at the variety of times. I've never had to deal with ants the way that I've had to deal with ants in Austin. Like, I have to buy ant traps and ant killer on a regular basis. I've never had to do that anywhere else. I've occasionally had to do that when I was in Dallas, but I've never, Austin is like ant paradise here. Nice. And I think part of the reason for that is because there are so few flying insects in Austin.
So it's a trade-off.
And it's a trade-off between the walking insects and the flying insects. And there's so few flying insects because we have a gigantic illegal Mexican bat population in Austin.
So you don't have problems with, we have wasps and hornets and all that other kind of stuff.
Well, I actually have wasps. They're kind of pets.
Okay.
But I can send you a picture sometime. No, my whole house is covered with wasp houses.
Nice. Now, do you have a tattoo by any chance?
They do not bother. No, I don't have any tattoos.
Okay, because Ned wanted to know if fire ants were worse or about the same as getting a tattoo.
I've never had a tattoo, so I can't say. I will say it feels like a red hot little needle.
So it's
a very small area. But I've been stung by bees and wasps before, and it's a very similar feel. So if you've ever had any of those, I will say the fire ant stuff does wear off faster. It wears off in probably 5 minutes. Whereas the bee sting, you feel for about half an hour.
And if you're allergic to them, then you got
you're fucked then. That's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't be allergic. That's a better way to go.
It's good advice, but don't take medical advice from anyone on this show.
That's not even medical advice. Don't be allergic has more to do with mindset than medical advice.
Okay. Either way, don't sue me.
Well, but I don't know. It might be fun. We can give it a shot.
So I have a clip today. I mean, do you want to do a little bit of math? And this is math is hard. I used to do a show with a guy that was a math major. So, I mean, I learned a little bit of math. And this was from yesterday's 1400th No Agenda show. Okay. And I was screaming when this segment was on. Because I was just like, no. Well, let me play it, and then you can tell me if you know why I was screaming at the speakers.
Let's find out.
Well, okay, I'll jump ahead just for 1 second to play this clip from Ireland.
By the way, this is great audio. I love the quality of this audio. This is so good.
You're kissing ass here? Is that it for the for Adam to hear you say that the audio is good?
Oh, he doesn't listen to this. Don't worry.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Well, okay, I'll jump ahead just for 1 second to play this clip from Ireland because it shows you.
So hold on. So we're playing a clip of a clip of a clip on a show.
It's like Inception, but
it is Inception. All right, go ahead.
Insane it is what they don't even realize what they're saying coming out of their own mouths is just factually not just incorrect, but illogical. Listen to this from Ireland.
Our sole priority is to ensure that our health service does not become overwhelmed. Okay. As a society, we need to...
Okay, hold on. I'm going to interrupt right there.
Yes.
So first of all, our sole priority is to ensure that the service doesn't become overwhelmed. Shouldn't the sole priority be to maintain the health of the population?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
And to keep people from being sick in the first place and all that. But, I mean, I get
treating people. I mean, saying our sole priority is to make sure our hospitals are empty.
Yes. It seems like that's a very small part of,
fucked up
of what it should be.
Go ahead.
93% of the adult population are fully vaccinated. We have over 600 people in hospital at the moment, and roughly around half of those are unvaccinated.
Half.
The evidence is absolutely clear, and tonight I would join with all of our healthcare professionals in urging people who have not yet received the vaccine to please take it up. More than anything.
Okay, now do you have an English translation of that clip, or
do you not understand the accent? It's not hard.
It sounds Gaelic to me.
It may be. I mean,
is it Gaelic?
It's in Ireland. They're speaking English, but definitely with the little bit of a brogue.
You're saying that's English?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the concept is 93% of the adults in Ireland, they're saying, are vaccinated.
Yes.
And right now, there's like 600 people in the hospital.
And half of them are unvaccinated.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a problem.
If you are not vaccinated, you are most at risk of getting seriously ill from this virus. And that is what the evidence is telling us.
No, the evidence is telling you it's 50-50. I don't understand. Am I missing the logic here? That 50% of the people in hospital are vaccinated, 50% are unvaccinated. So she says the evidence is clear. You better get vaccinated. Well, no. There's just as much chance as getting vaccinated puts you in the hospital. Or am I nuts?
Okay. So that's the clip.
Yeah.
Do you find any problems with the logic of Adam Curry?
I do. I understand both what Adam is trying to say and what you're implying as well, I think. So mathematically speaking, this is a simple problem that essentially says, what is it, 93%, 97%? What was the percent?
93% of the adults 93%, vaccinated.
Right. So if half of 93% are in the hospital and half of 7% are in the hospital.
But that's not what they're saying.
Well, that is what they're saying.
No, it's not. They're saying that of the 600 people in the hospital, half are vaccinated, half are not.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Yes. Half are coming from the 93%.
Correct.
And half are coming from the 7%.
Correct.
So clearly the 7% is accounting for a much greater. So essentially it'd be it'd be 1 over 93 and 1 over 7, right?
Correct. And what Adam was saying was, since it's half and half, you have an equal shot. Well, that's not true. I mean, let's just pretend for a minute.
Well, but it is kind of, you have to understand what he's saying, though, because...
No, he's using this as proof that this shows that the vaccine isn't having any play at all. and
but
who's being hospitalized.
Well, but here's the thing. So if it is half the people are vaccinated in the hospital, half are not, right? So your odds of being in the hospital, whether you're vaccinated or not, are determined by the total population, but your individual odds of the people that actually are in the hospital are 50-50. So I think that's the point he was trying to make.
No, it was certainly not the point he was trying to make. And
well, I don't know. That's kind of what I heard.
I would completely disagree, because it was also put down that because this vaccine was having no effect. So let's just say, I mean, it's hard in a large area like that because you're dealing with what I think the story should be, which is how the fact that there's only 600 people in the hospital.
Yeah.
In Ireland.
That's a huge number too. So if there's only 600 people in the hospital, you have to know how many people live in their area to really see what percentage of people we're talking about.
Well, I think they were talking about all of Ireland, which is like 5 million people.
You're kidding.
No.
That wasn't just a hospital. They're talking about all the hospitals in Ireland have 600 people.
I believe so, because I went and tried to do research, and that was what I found. And that's a much bigger story than both of those. Yes. Yes.
Well, that's the point that should be pointed out. Yeah. Because the population of Ireland is at least 100,000 people, right?
If we can just do a very quick statistics lesson, let's pretend we have a town of 100 people. 90 are vaxxed, 10 are not vaxxed. There's 10 people in the hospital, 5 of each group. So it's 50-50 in the hospital. Yeah. That means that
and half of the unvaxxed people are in the hospital.
Right. And 5% of the non-vaxxed are in the hospital.
Yeah, like 4.5 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's huge. That's a huge difference if you're talking statistics.
Yeah. And no, that's absolutely true. But again, the 5 people that are in the hospital that are vaxxed aren't supposed to be in the hospital because the vaccine was supposed to ensure that you don't get the disease. And furthermore, of those 95% or 90% or whatever in your example that are vaxxed, even as they've changed their definition, said, well, you may still get infected even though you've had the vaccine, but your symptoms will be much lesser. But apparently, there's still enough people with symptoms that require hospitalization to account for 5 people. So,
right. But the logic makes sense. The logic makes sense to say, people should get vaccines. It is lowering it. But where I would disagree then is you're talking about if this is the case with Ireland.
Yeah.
Right now, out of those 600 people, that means per million of the vaccinated people in the hospital, 0.64 per million. The unvaxxed people, 8.57 per million, which is way higher, but it's still only less than 9 people per million in the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically 1 person out of 100,000, less than 1 person out of 100,000.
And this gets lost when you start.
And the population of Ireland, apparently the live population of Ireland is 5,015,655 people right now.
And of course, it's only adults that have been jabbed, though. So trying to do the stats on this is
that you can't really do the stats exactly.
The weird stat, because I was on the Irish news and looking at COVID stuff, according to the latest.
Right. You speak Irish.
Yes. Well, I could read it too. They're claiming that as of right now, only about 10% of the population of Ireland has had COVID, which that seems really low for 2 years. Now we're almost into this of a disease that's supposed to be really, really easy to catch in a little island like Ireland. Really, only 1 out of 10 people have contracted it. That seems low to me too. So there's a lot of crazy stuff about this, but this is, we're unrelenting on the search for the truth.
It is, but also, 59% of Israelis hospitalized are vaccinated.
Okay. And what's the point?
Well, my point is that depending on the country, the majority of the people in the hospital may or may not be vaccinated.
Okay.
That's different in every country.
Well, that's fine. And the other thing they're not separating, which would be very helpful, is what's the bar for being hospitalized? Because there's a lot of people. I've been hospitalized with a migraine.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
I've been hospitalized with a migraine because the symptoms kind of mimic something else. In my case, a stroke, and they wanted to do some tests, but I was hospitalized with a migraine. Right. which, where's the bar for being hospitalized? Because hospitalized doesn't mean deathly ill.
I suspect in certain African countries, if you're hospitalized for COVID, it means you're dead already.
It could be, because there's not been a problem in Africa yet.
And there won't be.
Which is, that's confusing a lot of people.
Yeah, because it takes a healthcare system that demands payments in order to justify having COVID.
So there's so many factors to this kind of stuff that.
Yeah, and
so
what you bring
hard.
up a very good point is that statistics can be twisted and utilized to bolster virtually any position, depending on how you present the stats and which stats they are. So as far as Adam in this case, I of course totally see your point, because if you do the math, it basically says that you have a much higher chance of ending up in a hospital as an unvaccinated Irish person than you do as a vaccinated Irish person.
Right.
But that's literally as far as you can go. What you can't say is why. All
Correct.
you can say is that seems to be the statistical case.
But just doing that math, and I have to call out Dvorak too, because he just responded back after that with, no, you're right. It's like, I understand math is hard, but watching the troll room during this too, we've talked about confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
Adam and John have talked a lot of No Agenda about the mass hypnosis from, the other side. It goes on in both sides. People are listening and they're like, well, Adam's saying it, so it must be true. It's like, well, how do you get checked then if you're incorrect? Yes, men are great, and that's fine, but then you might really get something wrong, miss out on it, because nobody's going, hey, wait. The stats of that say maybe you got that a little bit wrong. And that's what we're doing here, in a loving way, and hopefully a way that people can take something from it and be like, oh,
yeah,
I should look at all the news sources I'm listening to and go, does that make sense? And if math is involved, try doing the math yourself. And I hate math,
because I think you're confirming some other biases right now, because I received some communication saying, hey, who's the socialist you're on with?
Right.
And I said, oh, yes. Well, I have a socialist that I'm on with, because kind of like
social.
Tim Pool has Ian. Every show needs somebody to be wrong all the time. And that's why I have Daryl.
Well, that's why I replaced Bemrose with you. We need
you need somebody who's right. I know.
No, we needed somebody that was wrong all the time.
Yes.
I think you're misunderstanding. But that's why that's one thing that John and Adam have said a lot in No Agenda, which is this is why there's two of us. And usually, Dvorak, I'm surprised, because usually John would jump on the fact that, oh, no, you're wrong, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Sometimes. Adam, look, there have been certainly instances where I went, what the fuck, to stuff that Adam has said, because it is fairly simple to disprove. And Adam, jumps on the band, like, for example, the rockets bouncing off the sphere around the Earth.
Right.
And he was like, well, what about this? I was like, well, that is the effect that happens when yada yada. Like, well, how do you explain this? Look, it's not that hard to explain things if you've actually studied the subject. It's a lot harder to explain things if you haven't. And so a lot of stuff that turns into memes on the internet, on the right and the left, but certainly if we're talking about the right, it's not exclusively on the left. These are memes put together by people that don't understand how things actually work. And there's a lot of funny memes that are that way, but they're being funny doesn't make them true.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit of homework, and hey, maybe we'll get clipped on No Agenda, and that would be a great promo for us.
We're definitely not getting clipped on No Agenda. That would be way too good a promo. If you think you're going to get clipped and promoted for trashing No Agenda,
not
as
trashing,
being disinformation,
pointing out
and
an
not
incorrect
doing
item,
literally fake news, calling No Agenda fake news, you think that's going to earn you a clip?
We've learned from No Agenda. You listen to the talking heads and you say why they're wrong. They just happen to be the talking heads in this case.
Well, they are, and there may even be a show that's on that's going to clip us. It's just not going to be no agenda, and they'll point out how wrong we are because we don't understand some other aspects of this particular study that somebody's actually looked into and says, well, you're going by what the person said.
It'll be comic strip blogger.
I'm pretty sure.
He was double jabbed, and now he wants the triple jab. So, and he got the mRNA one too. Now, I mean, I at least went with the Johnson & Johnson, and I didn't turn into a werewolf or anything.
Yeah, well, you turn into a socialist, apparently.
No, I want my money. I want my money.
That's what all the socialists say.
Can I take a sidetrack? Can I take a sidetrack into how insane? Have you sold anything on eBay recently?
I have not logged into eBay in like 2 years.
Oh my God. For anybody that uses eBay, is this something new that the percentage that they charge has like skyrocketed? Because
really,
my wife wanted this massively overpriced Lego toy.
Oh my God.
For Christmas, the Lego Titanic, which right through Lego was $629.
Oh my God.
Yeah. $629.
Okay, no one is allowed to make fun of me spending money on video games anymore. Because that is insane price for a fucking Lego.
Yeah, I'm still going to make fun of you for the video games because I also made fun of her for the Lego. And her mom was going to buy it for her for Christmas, which is great. That means then I don't have to buy it. But the thing was immediately sold out. Then it went on, back order. So I ordered one and then was going to cancel it because it wasn't supposed to ship until December.
Uh-huh.
And her mom had gone to the Lego store and actually got one in hand. So I'm like, okay, great.
Oh.
Well, Lego all of a sudden ships this thing way sooner than I thought.
Well,
so I'm like,
for you.
Well, I'm like, I can put it up on eBay. People are selling them.
Sure.
On eBay.
Overpriced, probably more than $600.
Oh, yeah. And I offered it up at cost the other day on No Agenda Social, and a couple people were interested, but nobody jumped in. I was like, hey, if you want it for cost, I'm not looking to make money on this thing. On eBay, I'd like to make money because I don't know people, but I listed it on eBay for $899,
mm-hmm.
and it sold.
Oh, my God.
But eBay now charges you such a high percentage. I mean, one, I thought it was interesting that they added sales tax of over $90 to the order.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, is that legal? I mean, I just paid sales tax on this thing. So me reselling this, wasn't the fact that I just paid sales tax on the item, shouldn't that make it correct?
Nope.
So
sales tax is charged when there's a transaction.
So anytime.
If that person then resells it tomorrow, sales tax gets charged again.
Okay, so eBay's collecting the sales tax. That's fine.
Yep.
But they also then take their percentage on the shipping, which is the exact price of shipping because you're doing it through their system, through, in this case, FedEx.
Mm-hmm.
They take the portion of the tax as well. So what I wound up with was $766, where eBay took like $1,100 from the person that bought it.
$1,100?
Yeah.
I thought it was $899 or whatever.
Yeah, because of shipping and tax.
Oh.
And so
eBay. Hold up. How big is this thing? How much is shipping? $100?
It was, the shipping wasn't horrible, but it is a 33-pound Lego box.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 33 pounds. This thing's big.
Yeah. I mean, look, that sounds about right. I don't think that's weird at all. The only thing that's different is you're not used to paying sales tax.
Well, that's part of it, but I remember eBay being like paying 5%, where now it's 16.
What do you care? You listed for $899.
Correct.
You got $760. What'd you get?
$760. So I made $80, which isn't horrible, but
forgetting the $80, but $899 to $760. So what does that come down to? Like
$162.23 for eBay fees.
Yeah. So did you do a super tagger or lister?
No, I didn't pay anything
thing
extra,
or whatever. No. Okay, you didn't pay any of that.
No add-ons. No.
So it was what? It was 15%.
Not guilty
commission?
verdict. We're being reported in the troll room. We have a not guilty.
Give us sources
in the Rittenhouse trial.
We got to have a second source before we can. Oh, okay. Got a second. RT just notified me that Kyle Rittenhouse found not guilty by Kenosha jury.
Alex Jones loving it according to Blitzed.
Nice. So we're going to see.
Have the riot
all the
started.
Good shows are broadcasting live right now, like Alex Jones.
It's right, and us.
And us. I forgot about us. God damn it. The bad shows are broadcasting it too.
Yeah.
Yes. New verdict, not guilty. Very good. I was surprised. I really thought there was a holdout on the jury. So yeah, this is a good sign in some ways and a bad sign in other ways.
Yes, because now you're going to see what's going to happen in Kenosha and nationwide.
I actually think
really.
Kenosha will be fine because Kenosha's got the military there and they're allowed to shoot.
So it may be the places like Chicago, Portland, the usual places that will erupt in violence.
Portland's going to burn big time. That's guaranteed. Portland's just going to burn.
If you're in Portland, we feel bad for you, but you elected the people. They're running the city into the ground.
The good thing about this is that it does, in this day and age, reaffirm the right to self-defense.
Yes.
Because that was really what was on trial. It wasn't some kid in Wisconsin. It was, do people have the right of self-defense or not? Because if you're not allowed to shoot at somebody who's pointing a gun at you because they missed their shot,
right,
then you're not allowed to defend yourself. And if you're not allowed to defend yourself and there are no police around, then you are the designated victim.
Well, and a big part of the liberal media douchebaggery in this was, well, he shouldn't have been there. And that's not America. But you have the freedom to go wherever you want. I mean, besides breaking into other people's homes, but
he was breaking no laws, so you cannot say he shouldn't have been there. He absolutely should have been there, as should have a lot more people. Think about that. If we would have had everybody in that town armed on the roofs of their buildings the way that they were during the LA riots with the Koreans, then we likely would have had a lot fewer arsons, a lot fewer buildings destroyed and windows broken. And I think this idea that somehow you can't do bodily harm in defense of property is bullshit. Thankfully, in Texas, we can. It's a state-by-state law. And in Wisconsin, you're not allowed to defend property with deadly force.
Yes, which means you just sit by and watch.
You're only allowed to defend other people with deadly force. So what you literally have to do is have some sacrificial scapegoat lambs out there that will stand in front of the properties that are getting damaged and walk right up to the people damaging the properties. And as soon as those people touch them, then you can shoot them and kill them.
Right. Well, you talked about earlier about...
By the way, we don't provide legal advice.
No, we don't. You talked earlier about the Wild West, and there were, again, if you believe television, movies, things you've read, history, those kind of things, when the Wild West, when a town finally got fed up, because usually you were only being terrorized by a small group of outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
Once everybody in the town decided to stand up, arm themselves, and stand, at the edge of town, whatever big dramatic moment it would be, that absolutely works. When the average person stands up for their neighborhood and says, we're not going to take this anymore. Well, that is what's needed.
Or you reach out to somebody that can stand up for you, like the Magnificent Seven with the absolutely brilliant Yul Brynner in the lead role.
There were some great Westerns that were put out in the day.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Magnificent Seven, definitely do. It's a remake of The Seven Samurai.
But people need to stand. I'm here in Chicago. This is what's been said for decades now, which is the crime would get taken care of if the people in all those neighborhoods that are riddled with crime would take a stand. Because the cops are never going to do it. The cops can come in and clean up a mess here and there, and maybe they'll catch somebody here and there. But they're not there 24/7 to see everything.
You don't have any more cops in Chicago.
Yeah, there's fewer and fewer, which is, it's amazing. These cities that have decided to defund the police and who were like really happy that a third of the police force retired or went away are now going, how come more people are getting raped, robbed, and beaten? I don't know. Maybe we should have more police.
Yeah, or maybe the people should move away from those cities.
Or everybody should be armed. Everybody should know how to defend themselves. And that goes a long way. I mean, this goes back to Adam Curry being on Leo Laporte's show, pulling out the judge and saying everybody's a lot more polite here in Texas because everybody has one of these.
Yep.
There's something to be said for that, because are you going to break into somebody's house if you think that they might be sitting right behind the door with a gun waiting for you? No. I mean, not unless you're nuts.
Yep, exactly. It's an armed society is a polite society. It's absolutely the case. back when I ran regular poker games,
as opposed to irregular poker games.
Yeah, I remember that one time we had some guests over, and when somebody noticed that I was wearing a gun, and made a comment about it, it said, "Well, I mean, pretty much everybody at the table is armed." At which point, everyone showed their weapons. This person was a little unhinged after that. And we got a bunch of money off them.
They turned white at that point.
Well, they were surprised. They were from California, you see, where the guns are something they're mythical things that evil people have.
Well, and most people, you'll never know. I mean, if they're doing it right, that they have a concealed carry. Because my brother-in-law, who had just passed away, it was at, I think, Thanksgiving last year or so. I just made a comment about, everybody should be carrying. And he pulled up the back of his shirt like, oh, okay. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you've got it. You don't want to be flashy. Now, there are some areas. I mean, Texas, I think, is still an open carry state. So you have to have it showing, right?
We're full on carry. There's no requirements anymore for anything. Anybody in the state can carry either concealed or open.
Which is the way it should be. And then you're responsible. If you do something stupid with a gun and somebody gets hurt or killed, you deserve to go to jail.
Absolutely. It's I do think that education is beneficial, and that if you're not going to have a requirement for any gun education prior to having a carry permit, which I think it is good that you don't need a permit, but I do think you need education. I'm not sure how to balance those two things, other than it'd be great to do what we used to do in this country back when I was in school, which is have gun classes in school.
Right.
Where you actually learn to shoot along with your math, your arithmetic, and your writing.
Well, to learn that guns are a tool like anything else.
Yeah.
And if you're in certain areas, I mean, if you're in Alaska, I mean, you really want to have a gun in case a bear walks up to you.
So you can shoot yourself. That's absolutely true.
Right.
Yeah, because that bear will absolutely cause unbelievable pain. You're better off taking your own life.
Right. That's, again, you might not always want to take advice from Gene, but sometimes he's spot on. But it's important to have these tools. They are useful for people that want to still hunt themselves for their own food. They're helpful.
Or even hunt others.
Maybe it's a Soylent Green. But
I mean, other animals, not necessarily yourself.
No, you never know. You're open to anything. But having the knowledge is an important thing. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how you balance this without being like, oh, well, wait, no, we have to force you to go take a class so then we can give you the license. It's like, I don't like that part of it either.
Yeah.
But I think people should have a clue what they're doing before they decide to take on a deadly weapon and just be like, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And I think that there is again, if you just simply make the education mandatory while you're in school, then you solve that problem. But good luck at this stage trying to get anybody in the school board to see the benefits of doing that.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's all guns are bad. This is all, again, a political show more than we want to teach people. I mean, I've heard stories, and I know they're all just incidental in that, but I've known people who were very anti-gun, and you take them out to the range for a day and they're like, oh, well, that's not so scary. It's all a misconception of what's going on. And speaking of guns, did you see the latest in the Alec Baldwin thing? We covered that here. The Rust shooting. Was that
it was on purpose? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the script supervisor says he wasn't supposed to fire the gun.
He wasn't supposed to handle the gun. He wasn't supposed to load the gun. He wasn't supposed to cock the gun, and he wasn't sure as hell supposed to fire the gun. And he's essentially being accused of playing Russian roulette.
So how does this happen?
I think Tim Pool actually had a great, I don't know what you'd call it, a great theory, I guess, on that, is that he effectively had an argument with his lover and then shot her.
Oh, whoa.
That this was a crime of passion, and that Baldwin figured that he could make this become an accident and shut her up.
Wait, is that true? Was he dating the filmographer that died?
No. It's a theory. It's a theory, but it's a good theory.
I mean, any theory is good if
Baldwin
it's entertaining.
has a habit of having extramarital affairs. Like, he's been well documented in being a ladies' man. So it would certainly not be out of character for him to be having a little bit of a passion thing happening with somebody on the set, and somebody that maybe had tried to blackmail him and make it public. And then, because he did say, remember, I just had dinner with her the night before.
Ooh.
He said that on the side of the road when he was doing a little impromptu interview. He said that to essentially say, no, why would I do something bad to this person when I'm friends with her and just interacted with her and had dinner with her?
Right.
Unless,
right. So, I mean,
at dinner,
when it comes down to it,
you either break up with your wife or I'm going to go public with this and kill whatever's left of your career. And he decided, okay, you want to do that? Let's see what happens.
So this is the same logic as, no, I like Gene. I just podcasted with him yesterday. Why would I shoot him? And then I'd be like, oh, wait, there's probably a lot of reasons in the podcast from yesterday. You never know.
This is why podcasts are recorded.
Right.
And
for evidence.
Just live streamed.
For evidence later.
For evidence.
In a court of law. I mean, for Rittenhouse, I feel good because this at least brings the legal portion of this to a close, where if it had gone the other way, and as we were talking about earlier,
it would drag on. So I think now at this stage, he's free to go on with his life and ambition of becoming a policeman.
DigiGuru reporting that the MSNBC black reporter seems very disappointed. There's no rioting breaking out in front of the courthouse.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. As a nation of law and order, we have to believe that the system is working. And the system is set up in such a way that even if this had come back, if you're somebody that supported Rittenhouse, say, and this came back that he was guilty, it's still not over, because then there's a whole appeals process to it.
Yeah.
This is set up in such a way to try to do everything humanly possible, and people are flawed and mistakes are made, OJ, that allow people to walk. But the reality of the situation is most logical people in a society will say, I would rather a guilty person gets off every now and then than to put a non-guilty person in prison. And I think that's gone now for a lot of people in this country who just want to try things based upon the color of somebody's skin. They want to try things based upon sound bites. And none of these trials are that simplistic unless you have somebody on video doing something. And even then, now we learned, it could be cropped. It could be edited. Anything could be possible.
These days, it could be completely fake.
True. It could be a complete deep fake.
It could even be a shallow fake.
That's a really bad deep fake, is it? Or
well, I mean, there has been edited video forever. It doesn't have to be deep fake.
Right.
You could have the back view of somebody and wearing the same clothes as the person, and then it could be mistaken for that person. There's tons of people that are picked up by the police that just simply look like somebody that's a suspect.
Sir Matthew says, of Maps with Matt, which is a show that was great until it only did 4 episodes, said it could be a deep dish fake, which is when you come to Chicago, I guess, and you get thin crust. That would be a deep dish fake.
Oh, that's creative. I like that.
I like thin crust pizza.
Yeah. So should we talk about listeners that are happy with what we're doing?
Yes. I was just going to go to some people that were nice enough to support today's episode of Unrelenting, including somebody at the top of the list, executive producer that is either watching you, Gene, or has some inside information, but it's kind of concerning to me. Cal from Lavender Blossoms, lavenderblossoms.org. Cal, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, has a business, sells some excellent CBD oil stuff, THC in the new, better packaged oil salves, kind of a thing for pain relief, all that, and has some great honey too once a year when it's in. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. I mean,
good.
It really can't be shipped. He sent us a sample last year. And it's good enough to drive a truck to Michigan just to pick up a load of this honey, I think. But he comes in today in the amount that blows anybody on locals away, because Cal's coming in with $161.80 today.
Holy cow. Wow. Yeah,
yes.
He is an executive producer.
Yes, he is. And
That's
we
very
appreciate
good. Well, I'm also glad to see him donating here, not just to me on OnlyFans.
Right. He must love your OnlyFans, because he says, I've heard of Sir Gene long ago. So, I mean, I wonder how long ago. Where is the legend of Sir Gene? When did it really begin? But he says, I've heard of Sir Gene long ago through Adam Curry. I always imagine him wearing an Adidas outfit with a heavy Russian accent and surrounded by hookers. And I told you that line yesterday, and you immediately sent me a picture of you in an Adidas sweatsuit.
Well, even better than that. I sent you a picture right as you said, oh, yeah, he sent this donation and mentioned the Adidas sweatsuit. I sent you a video of me opening an Amazon package and pulling out an Adidas sweatsuit.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong.
Cal knows.
But I just don't have the deep Russian accent because, I'm a little more evolved than that.
You're more of the KGB they want to sneak into the country, that not as obvious.
Well, KGB doesn't exist, first of all, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Neither does the CIA or NSA or any of those. They're not real.
Oh, no, they're all real. Absolutely, they're real.
But Cal did follow that with, but he's so articulate! ! Question mark. So he didn't know you were articulate, too. He just thought you would.
Yeah, and I kind of had to think about that when you read that. I was like, wait a minute, is that a compliment or a backhanded insult?
Yes, which is the best kind of compliment / backhanded insult.
Right.
But he says,
well, I'm glad you stopped beating your wife anyway.
He questioned, is there, I can beat her at a few things, but not Lego. He says, is there anything he doesn't know or he hasn't done? Well, if you ask Gene, no. If you ask everybody else, yes. There are things he doesn't know.
Not much. There are things. There are certain sports I haven't played.
For an apparent reason? I mean, you played hockey because you came from
I did play
Minnesota.
hockey. Yeah. No, I've just I've never played baseball, which is such a weird game.
It's not really weird. It's just slow moving for most people.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've never done that.
You're more into the action.
I do like the Winter Olympics more than the Summer Olympics.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah. I like seeing people running and jumping is not nearly as interesting as seeing them skiing and shooting.
Yeah, skiing down a hill at 100 miles an hour. It's like.
Well, I was thinking of the biathlon.
Well, and then you have shooting there. Do they still do that?
Well, that's what biathlon is.
I know, but do they still allow shooting in the Olympics?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not fully woke then, because guns are bad.
Well, the shooting has been in the Olympics for a very long time.
I know, but that doesn't mean they're not going to try to pull it out. Just wait.
They may try and pull it out. That's true. You never know. They also have archery,
which is a much more civilized way to shoot.
But that's in the Summer Olympics, though.
Yes,
but my favorite Olympic sport is actually curling.
There is something oddly zen about watching curling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and
it's something.
The best people on the U.S. Olympic team all come from Minnesota and Wisconsin.
I like to turn to my wife and be like, "That's called a broom." The thing they're using. That's usually the last thing I remember from that particular day. But it's an interesting sport. It is.
It's a cool sport. It has very old origins, obviously, and it's a team sport where a lot of the Winter Olympic sports are actually individual efforts.
That's true too. That is true. Except for hockey.
And imagine if you could go bowling and have your buddies be putting wax
on
in front of the ball. Yeah, on the lane in front of the ball. That would be so cool.
I don't know if that's a selling point for most people, but it's an interesting sport nonetheless. And we appreciate the support, Cal. Thanks for being an executive producer of the Unrelenting podcast.
Yeah, we'd appreciate samples too if you got any.
Oh, Cal has the best stuff.
Hey now.
He has the best stuff. Coming in next, though, is the aforementioned CSB. It doesn't matter where he is in the world. He came in with a Bitcoin donation.
Oh, yay, Bitcoin.
0.00033 Bitcoin, which was at $21 and something when it came in, and then it was down to like 18 something. Although now it looks like crypto's going back up, so probably back to about what it started with.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank you, CSB. And then he wanted to shill for his website, I believe.
Yeah, well, he has a podcast, which he's the only podcaster I know who doesn't speak on his podcast. He has a ventriloquist. He has somebody else do the voice for him.
Mm.
So he's kind of the ventriloquist, and he puts the words into Gwyff's mouth, and then Gwyff says the words, and that's how they put this out. But it is
Gwyff the Cock.
Yes, which is an interesting name. He's British, those British guys.
Yeah, we sure do.
AI.cooking is where you can go to find his
awesome
podcast.
Recipes. I think he's probably got some neat recipes there.
He does. The AI comes up with all of them.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's the AI that's going to eat what you finish cooking after you're done.
It might. It's all based on a script. And it was an interesting choice for a domain extension, the .cooking. But, it works, I guess. I hope it's working for him. Hope people are listening to that show. It's interesting news about the artificial intelligence world.
Exactly. Well, we've talked about having him be on the show at some point as well. And of course, the lack of having a voice makes that a little difficult for people to hear.
He could just, although once we have video, he can mime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, he could totally come on our video show at some point in the future once we've got all the bugs out and people are able to watch the stream live. And in I guess not just live, right? They can play the video later as well.
Correct. I mean, the technology is there.
While you're doing the donation segment, I've just double checked on our dashboard here. It looks like we've got 18 members right now, which is pretty cool.
Woo!
Yeah, so the numbers are going up on locals. Guys, we need to get to 20 paid members in order to move to that next level of services that locals offers. And so if you're inclined to send money our way, locals is another way of doing it. We certainly have the Bitcoin address. We have the direct mail it check that Darren's wife will go and get.
The PayPal, correct, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to unrelenting.show for all that information. And if you want to see CSB's doodles, you can go to comicstripblog.com too. And that's always fun.
Yeah. And he's had a few doodles that included us as well.
Yes, he likes to. If we say something interesting, he'll doodle us. I mean,
and he had a photorealistic one of Darren, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. But we sent him a picture so we can figure all that out. Mike Riley, I'm in his upcoming book too, which will be fun when that's supposed to be released really soon.
What's that book about?
He is a comic. He draws. He has a comic called I Taste Sound. It's been around for 10 years, and this is kind of a retrospective with a few other things added in.
Oh, cool.
And I went up in the level of the Kickstarter that got a custom Mike Riley piece so I can be immortalized. And I think it's really cool. He sent me a copy of it. It's going to be fun. It's a little homage to Rush Limbaugh. So I'll send you. You'll like it because you were a big fan of Rush.
Oh, yeah.
But also coming in today, our buddy Sir Kilgore Trout with $3.30. And that's a monthly, and we appreciate that. And, of course, the streaming checks are still coming in from Jeremy Gertis. Another 6 at 33 cents a piece. So another $1.98 this week. Just coming in, check after check after check. I know his credit union must love him. The amount of trees he's killing just to support our show.
You're assuming he still remembers. Maybe that's an auto payment he set up a long time ago and just
forgot. And it's so low, you'll never notice a difference. For the rest of his life,
exactly.
I'll be getting 33 cents a day.
That's exactly right.
So maybe the lower amounts are better then, because people just forget that kind of stuff. I've had memberships like that.
You can take the lower ones. I'll take the higher ones, and we'll be good to go.
Like the Unlocator, which stopped working for MLB, so I had to cancel that. But that was like $25 every 6 months, and I just kept forgetting to cancel it. And a lot of people do that. You have these things you forget.
Oh, yeah. That's the way Twitch works. Is once you support somebody on Twitch, every time, like, there is no option for, and I'd like to do this in the future. It's just, if you click support, it is going to get repeated, and you have to go in and manually flip it off. And then they say, why would you want to turn this off? What reason does this person now suck? And you're like, and you have to say,
Yes.
no, I only intended to do 1 month. I did not intend to forever send this guy $5 a month.
Right. You know, I get it because I understand. And I've sent support to shows and obviously get support. But there is that little twinge when you see somebody canceled their automatic payments. You're like, oh.
Well, yeah, like Nick the Rat, I had to cancel because the fucker won't even admit that I ever gave him any money and like doesn't talk to me, doesn't do anything. I jumped in there yesterday. I, said hi, didn't hear a peep out of him. Like, fuck him.
I reached out to Nick. I'm like, do you want to come on Unrelenting? He's like, no, fuck Gene. I'll come on any of your other shows.
That's
but not
pretty much what I expected. Yeah. Because, see, that's what happens when you give Nick money. You want to have him say, fuck you?
Yeah.
Best way to do that is to give him some money, and then he will be happy to insult you.
Did he at least send you a video, like one of those little services, so you get like a 30-second video of him telling you off?
Nothing.
That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
See, maybe that could be. We have they've just reopened too after a bunch of years dormant. But one of the big restaurants downtown, like when I was in high school and in college, was a diner called Ed DeBevick's, which was all based on like a 50s diner thing.
Oh, yeah. I think I've been to it.
Yeah. Okay. You would like it because their whole shtick was the waiters and waitresses are rude.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, that's not a bad shtick. Like somebody donates enough money to the show.
It's funny you say that because in the video game that I've been playing quite a bit lately called Star Citizen, if you go to a bar, or a lot of bars, not just a single bar, you can order drinks and you'll have the NPCs give you a drink. But if you go to the juice bar, like the healthy, fruity kind of place, the staff there is absolutely rude. Like, what do you want?
Right.
I shouldn't even be working today. They use all these sort of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm at work kind of phrases with the customer. And it's hilarious because obviously somebody had to write it and program it that way. That they decided that at the Greens juice bar, the staff would be assholes.
Right. They would be angry to be at work. And I mean, there's another place called the Wiener Circle, I think it is here in Chicago, that also has intentionally rude staff, and people go back and forth, and it's all part of the floor show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that would be great.
Makes sense. It may be a Chicago staple for that matter.
Maybe somebody sends in a large enough donation. Maybe we need to send them like, a little 30-second video berating them for being so stupid as to send us a donation. How dare you?
No, I'm not going to do that. I like people that send us donations. You don't like them, that's your problem.
I love them. Feel the love.
I enjoy it when people recognize the joy that we bring to their lives by entertaining them.
We do bring some entertainment. We hopefully bring a little bit of enlightenment, and we're having fun at the same time. So it all works out.
We're having fun. And, for all the freeloaders there that aren't even willing to join Locals, the website, not forget joining us as a paid membership. You just have to keep in mind that we're always going to do the podcast for free, but we are increasing to create content just for people that do appreciate what we do by sending us some donations. And so that type of content will be on Locals, or if it's somewhere else, the links to that content will be on Locals. And whether that's videos, whether that's the pre-show, post-show, or other things that are not part of the normal podcast, we're using Locals as the main hub for that.
Yes, it's one way for us to make it easy to support the show. And there's so many of these things popping up. I forwarded this to Adam Curry before the show. I just got an email from something called Good Pods, which I had never heard of.
Oh, yeah. They contact all new podcasts. They do a search automatically for everyone that just submits a new podcast.
The one today was, hi. While Apple and Spotify battle over the big budget shows, we're focused on leveling the playing field and helping indie podcasts get discovered and rewarded. I mean, why don't I believe that? But it says, as you know, too many podcasters, especially indie podcasters, aren't all podcasts. Okay, maybe not all are indie, but a vast majority are. And they talk about you're getting little or no pay. This is why we're excited to share with you one of the app's newest features, tip jars for podcasters. Woo!
Yep.
After you claim your show on the app, you have the opportunity to select a payment service, PayPal, Patreon, or Venmo, giving listeners the option to send you tips. I mean, the one nice thing at this point, although I don't believe this will last permanently, importantly, no money goes to Good Pods. So one, I'll give them one little pat on the back for that part of it, which is they're not taking a percentage of this right now, where if you were to do this in an Apple app, they want their 33% or whatever it is.
30, I believe.
That's probably right. But so that's nice. But this is also going the walled garden approach, which is you would have to do this in everybody that wants to use that app. Every app that you want to be on, then you'd have to go to that app. And this, I'm guessing their point is you're going to tell people, well, listen to our show through Good Pods rather than whatever podcasting app you're using now.
Shitty Pods.
Yes. And I didn't realize this was a real guy that was a podcaster and on Twitter. But in the example in this ad that they sent out, the account that they're showing is somebody with the name Podcast Father. And I'm like, is this a, an homage to Adam Curry, or is this a dig? And then I realized there is some Yahoo, I don't think he's actually a priest, but who knows, that has the name on Twitter, podcast_father, and has a podcast. So I don't know what connection that dude has, if any, to Good Pods. But this just further kind of separates things when it comes to the ability for people to get paid and all that, because this is exactly what Adam Curry, Dave Jones have been doing over at Podcasting 2.0, podcastindex.org, which is the value tag.
Podcastapps.com.
Yes, newpodcastapps.com, where you have multiple apps all taking part in one ecosystem rather than what this other Good Pods is doing, which is going, we can do it ourselves. Screw you.
Yeah, I don't take a hard stand on this. I think it's all good. I think the more choices people have, the better. The more ways that creators of content can get
I
paid,
don't
the
mind
better.
that. I don't mind having more choices, but it becomes so inconvenient when there's, this is probably low, but, say there's 100 different podcast apps out there. If we had to go claim our show on all 100 and give it payment information, that would be a real pain in the ass when you could just do it in one centralized place.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, which is why we've chosen locals as our one centralized place. But nonetheless, that doesn't stop people from sending physical checks, using PayPal,
Correct.
using Bitcoin, and all these other sources. And we're not at the point where we're ready to say, nope, you can't do that. You have to use locals. So we're certainly willing to accept all these. But from a centralization of convenience standpoint, obviously it's a lot easier to have a single source. This is why Patreon grew as fast as they did, is because they said, use us as your one place to both collect money as donations and to provide links to content, and we'll manage matching people that have paid at different levels to the right level of content. So they provided a service that helped the people that are creating content to be able to just centrally run that system instead of building something from scratch.
Yes, and Patreon was great until they start kicking people off.
Right. And Tim Pool, who had some very harsh words for Patreon and somewhat harsh words for locals as well, his argument is do it yourself. Don't rely on any other outsourced system. It's not that hard. Just build your own software platform and then put it out there.
Says the guy, anybody that has over 1 million followers, watchers, listeners, it's a lot easier to roll your own.
It is, but obviously he's also not the one doing it. He hired a developer to build it.
Right. Well, it doesn't mean you have to be able to do it, but you need to have the funds to do it.
But the way that he talks about it is like, it's really not a big deal. Just do it.
But it is a big deal. I mean, okay.
Well, it is a deal. It's not a huge deal, but it's not a small deal.
The reality is you could install WordPress, and there are membership apps that you can add on, which I think the guys from Grimerica may still be using.
Incidentally, if you think WordPress can't cancel you, then you're smoking pot as well, because WordPress, like any other company,
well, if you're using there is a separation here between WordPress that you actually use their servers and WordPress, which is what we do, which is you download the software, you upload it to your
WordPress is free to modify their license at absolutely any time. And their license, I believe, currently
but they can't shut
the
you
use
off
of their products. They absolutely can in the court of law.
Well, in a court of law, but that's not, they can't just flip a switch and turn you off.
Excludes the use of their products for people that are promoting pedophilia, people that are promoting a variety of illegal acts.
Which
that's already in there.
The courts will go after that anyway, law enforcement. But maybe we should be using Dave Jones's thing. You were going to look into that. If we,
I did. I reached out to Dave. I need to actually follow up. The thing is, like, Dave is pretty good at replying back. Dave Jones is the other half of Podcasting 2.0 with Adam Curry.
Yes, the guy that created the Freedom Controller, which is the software that No Agenda and probably other podcasts, I'm sure MoFax and every Adam Curry stuff is using. I don't know if anybody else is using that.
Exactly. And so Dave has said, yeah, I'd be happy to have you guys set you up on here and see if you like it and then get you an install. That would be an interesting system, certainly. But I think, while I like Tim in general, I think this point he's going a little overboard on, because his really main point is don't rely on anybody, do it yourself. But he's also a guy saying that who just paid the developer to build something.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, so really not do it yourself, but pay somebody to do it for you.
And for most people starting out without an audience, that's cost prohibitive. Even at our point, it's cost prohibitive to go hire somebody.
It's $5,000 minimum.
Right.
Like, you're not going to get anybody to do any development work for under $5,000. So yeah, it's, and for $5,000, they're guaranteed they're going to be using a bunch of,
scripts that they're going to hobble together. Right.
Yeah. It's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to sit down with my C compiler and notepad, and I'm going to write a whole CMS system for you, a whole content management system that includes different levels of access for people. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, I ran a software company where we did build stuff like that back in the 90s, and it's not trivial work, and it costs a lot more than $5,000. And these days, pretty much everything is written on top of some sort of open source.
Right. Somebody's taking it. And
very few people don't use open source these days.
Which is why things are so damn bloated. It's like, oh, why is this so big? Well, it's just Drupal with the skin thrown on top of it.
Yep. It's still going to be $5,000 with Drupal.
Right.
If you're lucky, it may be $20,000 for that matter.
No, can't you just go to India and get everything for like $5?
India is $5,000. Everywhere else is like $20,000.
Where can I go for $5? Come on, Fiverr, baby.
Fiverr. You can go to Fiverr for $5. You might be able to get somebody to say your name and send you the recording.
Wow, that's a great deal.
There's not much that you can get for $5 anymore. $5 is worth about $1 these days.
That's wise words. That is wise words. What else you got for us? I mean, I know you have a hard out today because it's in the work.
I do have the hard outs. The only other thing is I just wanted to remind people that today, until the end of the month, is the big event in Star Citizen, the video game I've been playing a lot lately.
We're back to playing video games.
And during this live event, you can try and fly every ship in the game. And you can actually buy, if so desired, any ship in the game with real money as well. So it's kind of it's a car show, really. It's a car show for spaceships is the best way to look at it.
So you're a used virtual spaceship guy.
Well, no, I'm a new virtual spaceship guy. I don't know about used.
In your Adidas sweatsuit. Hey.
It's comfortable. Shut up, man. It's comfy.
You're like, what's it going to take to put you into the ship today? What do I got to do?
Well, I'm just saying that if you get in right now and you use my code, which will be included in the show notes.
Oh, and Metis is in. He said he's going to try Star Citizen out this weekend.
Make sure you get in using my code. You will get a free spaceship as well as the one that you get for signing up just for using my code. So free extra spaceship for using my code.
So not only do they get news that is truthful, entertainment here, they get deals on spaceships on Unrelenting.
It's a great deal. It's a great deal. It's an amazing deal. It's never been deal like it before. It's absolutely, absolutely great.
I dare you, find a podcast that gives you better value.
On spaceships.
On spaceships. Yes. This is, we're setting the bar pretty high here. We are
Amazing.
setting the bar high here. Next week, of course, is Thanksgiving Thursday. So we will be doing a pre-recorded show, I believe. And we already have one in the can. I mean, to be honest. So if we need to release
I think
that.
we should we'll do a new one, I think, just to have some fresh content, because I'm sure the Rittenhouse stuff is going to make some waves that we can talk about.
True. We can talk about the rioting and looting, or we could be very surprised if there is no rioting.
So
and looting.
here's what we're going to do is we're going to record that show so that Darren can spend time with family.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you have
you have
nobody that wants to spend time with you on Thanksgiving, Gene?
I've really worked hard to try and make sure nobody's around.
I was gonna say,
shut the fuck up.
Do you want to come to Chicago? I mean, we got
really
enough.
do not want to come to Chicago, but I appreciate the offer.
It's 30 degrees. I mean, come on. That's
so here's what I'm going to be running a live stream playing that episode on Thanksgiving. So for anybody that wants to come and join and even interact in real time at the locals at unrelentinglocals.com. So yes, oh my God, you're going to have to actually sign up for locals, even though that costs you nothing. But
are you going to Mystery Science Theater yourself and like comment about your comments during the show?
I'm going to be, I think if we do a 2-hour recorded show, it'll probably be 3 hours when it's played, because I'm going to be pausing it and then commenting about things that you say wrong during the course of the show. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, that could take a long time. I
welcome anyone to participate in this. I might even, bring on a live audio guest or two during that process as well.
Ooh, Nick the Rat, CSB, which one?
Well, like anybody that actually shows up and wants to raise their hand and say, hey, I'd like to be on.
So the bar is low. Show up.
The bar is where the bar is. So
show up and Gene will pull you in.
I may. I'm not promising, but I may definitely pull some people in. So that's my plan right now, is that on Thanksgiving, I'll actually do a little bit of an interactive show, even though we're playing pre-recorded content. I got nothing better to do.
Well, I do. So I'll listen.
I'm happy to, you ought to do Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving.
I will be there in spirit.
Well, you'll also be there in voice.
Ooh, yeah.
So
that's even better. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah. You can be in two places at the same time, I guess.
So join in for that, and then we'll be back live for the episode after that, and that will probably going back to Thursdays. So you'll have to watch.
We'll figure it out, and we're going to try to figure out what to do with the time frame, because the Friday, this time slot we're on right now, is just really tight. We just barely have 2 hours, and for those of you that have been listening to us yammer for a while know that 2 hours is not really enough. I mean, we need 3+ hours really.
Some people might argue that we really should have a cutoff.
Well, those people are probably not listening to us, so I wouldn't even care what those people think.
Yeah, screw those guys. Let us talk. Let us go.
Them guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, dude, our phone calls last 2 hours. I would think that our show ought to go a little longer.
Yeah, that's true. We should just record the phone calls.
Yeah, if we recorded the phone calls, we would probably do at least 3 shows a week.
It's called bonus content. Yes.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we will be back.
Record phone calls and make it bonus content.
Yes. There we go. It's the easiest bonus content ever.
Yes.
Famous.
But you're going to have to put up with Daryl's circa 1986 phone.
It's a Panasonic DECT 6, baby. It's like the, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1993 phone.
Tell you what, I will switch to the wired Mickey Mouse phone with a 50-foot cord on it.
Oh, my God.
Till next time. Later, everybody.
Adios, mofos.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stepped on you. You want to say that again?
No.